What's up, y'all? Welcome back to this space of just pure expression. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the importance of listening to the inkling. The inkling is the Holy Spirit, your intuition. Spirit, straight up talking to you. That's what we're going to talk about right now. And what happens when you don't listen sometimes, at least in my own personal experience. And something just happened to me recently that had me so frustrated with myself. And I could have just been frustrated at the situation. Like, oh my God, how could this have happened? What? Oh my God, oh my God. No, I actually got a clear directive hours before something happened to me that actually would have avoided the whole thing happening and the consequences I am now having to navigate. So the other day, I was out. Big, long day. So I just had my typical bag on me. And usually if I'm having a super, super big, long day or I know I'm going out dancing, I'll take my fanny pack. But this time around, I have my other bag. It was just a quick sling bag or whatever. It doesn't really zip or close all the way. But, you know, I was like, oh, this is totally fine. I have a big, long day. I have lots of different events to go to. We'll be fine. I'm running errands. Then eventually I'll get to the party and everything will be fine. As I was beginning to navigate through my day, like in the very, very beginning, I got an inkling in me and a clear voice that came through and said, change out to your fanny pack. But by that point, I was pretty much already en route and I was already running late for my first event. So I was like, it's fine. I would keep my bag on me, you know, whatever. So fast forward, ended up having things taken from me. And that didn't realize at first that things were taken from me. And then I noticed, but unfortunately at an unfortunate time when I began to notice. And now I'm in the process of trying to recover things and replace things, which, as if anyone has ever experienced that, you know that this is a very complicated process sometimes. And trying to navigate bureaucratic systems to get your stuff handled and things returned to you and file reports, and it can be very overwhelming. It even puts you in that space of reliving that moment constantly. And so my frustration wasn't just with the occurrence of the situation and what I'm now navigating being this process. It's actually with the original thing of not following the directive. That inkling was really the Holy Spirit talking to me and being like, hey, just do this. And you don't know why sometimes you're getting a clear message, because what I've learned to discern from the voices in my head or whatever is the Holy Spirit will come and speak to you in a clear, calm, concise manner. Now, sometimes it can be a conversation of sorts, but especially when it's like a command or a directive, it's usually calm, it's clear, and it's concise. It never evokes, it's not emotive, it doesn't even evoke an emotion out of me. It's just a thing. Now, my response to it is the human coming out of me, and I'm either going to listen or I don't. And there's been times where I haven't listened. And pretty much the times that I can recall that I didn't listen, I had to deal with something weird and funky. And then I'm praying to God, like, oh God, please help me get through this situation. Please lift my spirit. May a miracle happen. It's like, baby, a miracle had already happened. Now, a miracle can still happen, of course, even while navigating the situation, because we are human. But I had to recognize that my frustration with myself was just like, bro, all I had to do was just maybe take an extra 10 to 15 minutes. Sure, I would have been 10 or 15 minutes later to my destination, but an extra 10 to 15 minutes to change out. Because again, we don't know why we're getting these directives. It wasn't aggressive. It wasn't rude. It wasn't down talking me. It wasn't no other voice. It was that clear, calm, and concise voice that honestly comes around when I think about it in terms of pattern recognition. Comes around when I'm in need of being protected from something. So this voice may come around for all types of things. Go there, don't go there. Be with this person, don't be with this person. Talk to this person, don't talk to them. Change out this, don't change out that. I don't know. It could be anything. Invest in this, don't invest in that. You know, spend your time here, don't, you know. And all of us may have a slightly different experience with this in relationship with the Holy Spirit and God, and how we are spoken to and how we receive information, and even with how we respond to it or not. But the lesson that I'm learning, especially with the amount of irritation that I began to feel with myself, is 1, don't be caught slipping in a big metropolitan area ever. 2, listen, heed the warning, heed the voice, heed the command. It could heed, voice, warning, command, etc. Whatever you want to call it, listen. God's speaking to you for a reason. So what, you going to use your human abilities to usurp it? Why? Especially someone like me, I'm over here praying and asking for God for guidance on a consistent daily basis. And then I'm not going to listen when I get it. If you're someone who has experienced this before and you understand some of the frustration I'm talking about, cool. It's important that we don't berate ourselves mentally with some inner narrative or self-talk, because I started to man, you're like, well, you stupid, da-da-da. It's no, I'm not stupid. I'm still filled with love. I'm still loved. I'm still protected. I'm still, all these things are still true. I just didn't listen. And I'm learning again and again what happens when I don't listen. Not once have I ever received these types of directives or, clear knowings and clear understandings, clear, calm, loving understandings from the Most High. And they've never led me astray ever. They've only led me to greater awareness of self, awareness of all, greater connections, greater truths, greater abundance, greater health, greater everything. And there's many different ways I mentioned before that they may speak to you. Sometimes it's through body sensations. I sometimes get clear audience, which is like hearing a voice. So don't beat yourself up, right? If you don't listen and then you're dealing with the consequence of not listening. Just remember, ask yourself, what is the lesson, right? To listen, to stop, take time and listen. Because if there's a pattern of not listening, especially when you're asking for guidance, you're asking for protection, you're asking for these things, you're not listening, then perhaps you might need to check in with yourself, check in with your ego, and figure out, where's your awareness lying? Are you really paying attention to the truth, or are you trying to curate a truth that is separate from the ultimate truth? Now, of course, we want what we want to experience what we want to experience, we want things to go our way, but ultimately there is a grander divine plan that we must surrender to. And a few videos ago, I created one about surrender and the importance of surrender and how it can really transform your life and how it is actively transforming my life. And so even in those moments when we're hurried and we're rushing and we're oh, I can't slow down, I can't make time for this, I can't get, how about we take time to take a deep breath, relax our jaw, relax our shoulders, even in the midst of a hurried, stressed state. And embrace some of the silence and the spaciousness in between this space to figure out, what really am I hearing? What really is the command? And what really is important to be done at this moment? We don't know why we're receiving what we are receiving sometimes from God. But we don't really need to know what we've been protected from or diverted from or redirected to. We just know that we are loved, we are protected, and that everything's going to be all right. Continuing to lean on the guidance and the truth that God is here to help us to see, to know, to feel, to understand, to lean on, especially when you ask Him for it. So I had to practice something, what I call radical self-acceptance in this moment, and extending compassion and forgiveness to myself, and then asking the Most High for forgiveness for not listening, because I didn't listen, and I was frustrated and flustered and sad, and I had to let out a cry, because now navigating this process is such this bureaucratic but it doesn't come without the deeper knowing of, if I have a pattern of not listening and I know I want to listen, then I'm going to commit to ending this pattern, and I'm going to commit to listening. Because the best way to break a pattern is to just, some may take time, but eventually you have to make a decision to do something else, to make a different decision, to put yourself in a different place that may be different than what you've been doing. But you say you want something else, so you're going to have to do something different. And you're going to have to keep gradually doing something different and using and practicing your awareness to understand that something different has to be done. And you're like, oh, I noticed I just did something different. Boom. Keep doing that something different that is more aligned with where you're trying to go, who you're trying to be, and surrender to in God's name. That radical compassion, radical self-acceptance, radical forgiveness that not only God gives us, but we can also practice giving to ourselves, is what will help us as we navigate through difficult moments, through repeating patterns, through new things that we're unfamiliar with and want to revert to what we're comfortable with. So just like how I'm doing right now is loving on myself, even though I'm frustrated and having to navigate things. I realize that there is still so much love and so much to be grateful for, even in the midst of having to navigate something that is overwhelming. And that even in the midst of overwhelm, I am not without help from the Most High, and also love, community, self. So my commitment here is to listen when I'm being spoken to, when God's coming in and saying, hey, don't do this, don't do that, change this, do that. Even in a flustered state, taking a deep breath, relaxing, and letting the truth flood me. Be easy today. Show yourself some grace, show yourself some love. And if you're asking for that guidance from the Most High, listen. And if you don't know how to listen, just practice breathing, practice slowing down, practice being here, practice being in the moment, practice being silent, practice no longer being inundated so much with your phone or data or TV or stuff. Just take some time to really sit with yourself so that you can begin to let the murk fall out of the water, and so that you can clearly hear that voice that's always been talking to you. It doesn't leave you. It's here the whole time. It's here. Let your intuition flourish. Let God talk to you. Let the Holy Spirit wash over you. And practice listening. Practice taking the actions that you are being directed to take. And eventually, you will see your life transform, either immediately or eventually.